So when we're at the cold caller in position, we often have, most of the time, it's about, do we call the flop suit or do we raise? So, or do we bet? I mean, this is also an option. In general, cold caller in position plays very similar to when we're the pre-flop aggressor in position. So here you can basically apply all the knowledge. We want to bet very polarized. We don't want to bet forward if we can. I don't want to repeat it here again. The only difference is that our range is capped, right? I mean, if we, let's say we flat cutoff button against NP and we're playing against a 20, 5, or 20 big blind stack, or let's say we have 20, 25 big blind ourselves. I mean, queens, kings, jacks, tens, ace, king, we're 3-betting pre-flop, right? Even tens and ace, queen occasionally. So here, we're not having those hands on our range. So thing is, the same concept applies here, but our range is just a little bit different. It's capped and it's a bit more stronger. Since we flat call a raise, we don't have as many hands on our range as if we would open raise from the cutoff button or hijack. So keep that in mind. And here, if your hand is strong enough to go broke, bet it. If it's not, check back. So very easy example, let's say we have Jack 10 and the board is Jack 8-5. I would always check back. We don't need to protect that much. If we get check raised, he's probably just check raising better. The only hands I would bet would be Ace Jack and King Jack, where I'm head against his Queen Jack and Jack 10, and that's pretty much it. Additionally, I'm also blocking aces and kings. So bet really those hands where, in case he raises you, you really head against some of his value hands. If you have a weak top pair, just check it back. Unless your top pair needs protection. And here, this is the rule from earlier. If it's a low card or mid card board, something like 8 high, 7 high, and you flat call something like 10-9 suited or 9-8 suited or ace-8 suited, and you make a top pair, bet it. You want to protect your hand, and you will get some value from ace-king, ace-queen high anyway, or pocket sevens. And if he raises you, you can make a good lay down, especially when there are no draws possible. So here, just really think about what can he have. If you don't beat anything, just let go. In general, and that's why I'm not gonna cover raising so much here, you want to avoid raising. Your range is capped. If you play against a fish, then it doesn't matter. Just play your hand maximally. That is the golden rule number one. Everything what I'm saying here, when I'm talking about balancing or being aware of your range, doesn't apply when playing against a fish. Against a fish, always play straight for value. If you make a good top pair, the board is destroyed, just go broke. A fish will go broke lighter. Second pairs, you might overplace with ace king highs, ace queen highs. You might overplay draws, and he's open raising hands a regular would not open raise. So there against a fish, just try to get as much money out of him as possible. But if you play against a better opponent, also to improve your understanding of poker, when we're the flat pot in position, usually we don't want to raise. Also by raising, we're giving our positional advantage away, right? If we raise a lot, he only has to play 1 street out of position. But by calling, he has to play 3 streets out of position. And playing out of position is obviously more difficult than playing in position. It's something you should keep in mind. So I have prepared a spot. First of all, pre-flop, it's relatively close. I wouldn't defend any loser. And the big blind also comes along. I probably called because of the big blind. As you can see, he's like a really, really big fish. And if that is the case, it's totally reasonable to flat call loser. Or you're supposed, it's not only reasonable, you're supposed to flat call loser. So here, in general, let's say we're just playing against the hijack. It doesn't matter. 3 ways or heads up. Right now, it's very likely that we have the best hand, but it can change on the turn tremendously. We don't technically have a value bet because if called, they either have a draw or 9 or better 7. But especially the big blind, he has so many hands like king 3, king 5, in his range, and the hijack, he can have queen jack give ups, ace king, ace 10, ace jack give ups. So all in all, both of them, they still have a lot of equity, even though they didn't hit. Or even if hijack has just an underpair, something like pocket fives, he still has 10% equity. Combined with big blind's equity with a hand like queen jack, they have together 8 outs, which are still around 30-35% equity, right? So even though they completely missed the board, there's still a lot of equity. So we want to deny this equity by just betting more on the smaller side. So here we're just protecting our hand and make them fold. So don't make the mistake and check back your second pairs. Let's say the board would have been queen 10-3 and we have something like king 10, jack 10, and it would be way more reasonable to check back. There we don't need so much protection. There just literally is just ace king and ace jack, and he's probably not folding ace king, ace jack against the small bet, right? So in this very situation, we check back. So you really need to understand those 3 different flop categories: when it's middleish, when it's low, or when it's in high card board texture, and then also between the gaps between the high card and the mid card. And those are the only points you want to take into account when considering a bet or check. And it's the same spiel and again and again and again and again. And hence my bluffs would be something like, first of all, my very strong draws: jack 10 in clubs, 10-8 in clubs, something like king queen in clubs. So in case 10-8 of diamond opts to also fast play, or let's say play a draw more tricky, something like jack 10 in clubs. So with king queen clubs, I'm ahead against his draws. I have 2 overcards. So against something like ace 9, king 9, I can comfortably get it in. And yeah, against pretty much everything, I have very, very good equity. So the only situation when you want to raise is when the board is very draw heavy. You want to protect your top pair, and then you can also balance it with in situations when you have the draw. But in general, when the board is dry, you don't want to raise. And if you hit a second pair and let's say there's a high gap between the ace, the high card and the mid card, and you have a vulnerable second pair, we just call, okay? This only applies for betting. When you have a vulnerable second pair, it's likely you have the best hand, then you want to bet it. But if that is not the case, then you just check back. So our range is very Broadway heavy, and we have a few traps. So keep that in mind. So especially on Broadway heavy boards, we actually hit very decently. Yeah, it plays very similar to this pre-progressive in position, and our range is very capped. The only exception is blind versus blind, but the same spiel here as well. I mean, here our range is wider, and since we're defending from the big blind, we can easily overfold. And also from the big blind, we can raise more. But you can apply the same concepts for the big blinds as well. The only difference, the ranges are wider. And again, we are capped. But everything I've been teaching you regarding when to bet second pairs, when to check your weakest draws, when to bet your draws, apply there as well.